Their relationship appears to be amazing to us. She was wonderful, so excellent, glooming, popular, and in love. An ideal escape with her first love, yet things turned out badly, and the delightful romantic tale transformed into their most exceedingly awful bad dream. This is the eerie, most disputable vanishing of Gabby. Gabrielle Petito, or Gabby as she was known, was brought into the world on March 19, 1999, in Long Island, New York. She lived with her mother, Nicole Schmidt, and stepdad James Schmidt. However, she had a relationship with her biological father Joe Petito. At the point when Gabby was in secondary school, she met and became hopelessly in love with a boy called Brian Laundrie. In any case, this relationship didn't endure by any means, and it finished the second Brian graduated in 2016. The two later met again in 2019 and chose to fall back in love. A year later, Brian asked Gabby to marry him and she said yes. She shared how excited she was on Instagram about the proposal. Brian asked me to marry him and I said yes. At bizarre_design_, you make me feel unreal and every day is such a dream with you. Brian also wrote on his Instagram saying, my biggest fear is that one day I'll wake up and it will have all been a dream, because that is what every second has felt like since the moment we met each other till death do us part, or until I wake up. After they got ready for marriage, Gabby moved to Florida to live with Brian and his family. As indicated by Gabby's father, Brian didn't appear to be a horrendous person. He was deferential and appeared to be genuine with his expectations for Gabby. Both Brian and Gabby were outdoor enthusiasts. They just loved nature and would go out hiking, camping, and exploring. They would then share their adventure with their followers on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube in their videos and pictures. You could tell that they were so much in love and enjoyed spending time together. They became couple goals to so many of their followers, but as we would soon find out, things are not always as they seem when on July 2nd, they left Long Island on a cross-country drive, posting from public parks and underground aquifers under the hashtag #vanlife. Her latest Instagram post went up on August 25th. They were driving Gabby white van. They had changed its inside over to permit them to camp and prepare their dinners inside as they voyaged. As per their web-based media posts, they went from Florida to Kansas, Colorado, and Utah, visiting and setting up camp at a few public parks and regular attractions. All that appeared to be fine with the two of them, as they posted recordings of how they have been enjoying the excursion. However, at that point, something occurred in Utah that made everybody believe that possibly the cheerful couple was really unsettled, all things considered. It was on August 12th when the police got a call about a homegrown issue. The guests said they saw a man in a white van hitting a woman and slapping her. The hitter bounced in the vehicle and they drove off. Brian and Gabby van was subsequently pulled over as it was seen speeding and hitting a control close to the Passage of Arches National Park. The body of cam from one of the officers shows Gabby crying while speaking to the officer. She said that they were having personal issues. That Brian had locked her out of the car. Second, in the car, before the fight started, when Brian climbed into the van with dirty feet and Gabby got upset because she had just cleaned it. Brian had visible scratches on his face, arms, and neck, which he said he got from Gabby. He told the officers that too much time together inside the van had created some sort of emotional strain, which made them fight more often. Gabby got so worked up when she thought he was going to leave her in Moab. She said that Brian had not hit her and that they were in love and didn't want to press any charges against each other. They, however, agreed to be separated for the night so they could cool down. Brian was put in a motel while Gabby remained in the van. The officers later labeled the incident as an emotional breakdown, rather than a domestic crime. But could there have been something more that they missed? Some of Gabby and Brian's friends have come out to say that the couple's relationship was not as smooth as they tried to make everyone believe. They even described it as toxic and full of drama. One of Brian's friends said one minute they'd be all over each other, the next minute, he'd be like, we're fighting. They always had some drama. They had times where they were toxic and times where everything seemed a lot more healthy. They had very lows and very highs, but they really seemed to love each other. On September 1st, almost 3 weeks after the incident, Brian returned to Florida alone. He did not say anything about Gabby or where she had gone. The last time that anyone in her family had heard from Gabby was on August 30th, when she allegedly sent a text to her mom saying no service in Yosemite. This text was truly odd for a very long time. 1. It implied that the couple was in Yosemite National Park in California. However, at that point Brian had displayed in Florida. After a day, this is an excursion that would require at least 2 days. How could he arrive so quickly? As per the Gabby family, the text didn't seem like her, and they felt like another person had composed it. Her mother got another bizarre text several days prior to that. That said, would you be able to help Stan? I simply continue to get his phone messages and missed calls. This was truly disturbing on the grounds that Stan was Gabby's granddad. And she never called him by his first name. Gabby had also stopped posting on social media. Her last post on Instagram was on August 25, 2021. It was a picture of her holding a crocheted pumpkin with the caption "Happy Halloween." That was also the day that she FaceTimed her family to let them know where she was. After that, they never heard from her again until the weird test. By the time Gabby family learned that Brian had returned to Florida without their daughter, they knew something was wrong. They tried contacting Brian to ask him about their daughter, but he refused to speak to them. On September 11th, Gabby's family went to the police in New York and reported her missing. When the police in Florida went to Brian's home, they found Bobby Van, and Brian was nowhere to be found. His parents instead gave them their lawyer's phone number since he was the last known person to have seen Gabby and he is her boyfriend. Brian was named as a person of interest in her disappearance, but his silence was really frustrating to Gabby's family and made them think that maybe he had done something bad to their daughter. They tried pleading with him, begging him, appealing to the love that he once felt for Gabby, but Brian was unmoved. When this did not work, they tried appealing to his parents, hoping that maybe they'd at least feel sorry for Gabby and tell them where their son had left her. "We understand that you are going through a difficult time and your instinct to protect your son. We ask you to put yourself in our shoes. We haven't been able to sleep or eat and our lives are falling apart. We believe you know the location where Brian left Gabby. We beg you to tell us." But Brian's parents also chose to remain silent. Brian's sister Cassie was the only one in the family who actually came out to say that she hoped Gabby would come home safely. Can you imagine how frustrated Gabby's family must have felt? These people were the only ones who could have helped bring Gabby home safely, but they stayed quiet and acted like she was. I get that they were trying to protect their son, but she was living with them for over a year before this happened and was to be their future daughter-in-law. And also, what protection would their son need if he did nothing wrong? This makes us believe that they knew what their son had done, and they were just trying to buy some time so that he could escape, and they proved this when they suddenly reported that Brian had gone missing. The cops had been trying to speak to Brian all this while, and then on September 17th, his parents reported that they had not seen him for 3 days. Like seriously, who would even believe that the only person of interest in Gabby's case disappears and you only report it to the cops after 3 days? That's too convenient if you ask me. So according to his parents, Brian told them that he was going hiking at Carlton Reserve and never came back. He left without his phone and wallet, and they were worried that he might have harmed himself. As the search for Brian was going on, the news that everyone had been dreading came in. The FBI found human remains that were later identified as Gabby. Her body was found in an undeveloped camping area in a Bridger-Teton National Forest in Wyoming. Her death was ruled as a homicide. However, they have not yet disclosed how she died. The FBI raided Brian's family home and declared it a crime scene. Brian's parents were removed from the house for about an hour, as the investigators took evidence from Brian's room. Though Brian has not yet been named a suspect in the murder, he is a person of interest, and a warrant for arrest has been issued against him for fraudulent activity. It was discovered that he used Gabby's debit card on August 30th and September 1st, days after she was last heard. The FBI asks anyone with information about what happened or where Brian could be hiding to please come forward. Everyone has been talking about this case. There are tons of internet detectives trying to solve it. The last known sighting was on August 27th at the Mary Piglet's restaurant in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where Brian is said to have been aggressively arguing with the waiters about his bill. Some different coffee shops even professed to have seen a man coordinating with Brian portrayal stomped out of the cafe and returned multiple times to proceed with the contention. And afterward, somebody who seemed as though Gabby came in to apologize for the man's conduct. And afterward, curiously, that very day at around 6 p.m., family travel vloggers Jen and Kyle were passing at the Spread Creek scattered setting up the camp region. Their camera caught a van that looked a great deal like the one Gabby and Brian were going in. They uploaded the video on social media a few days later, when Gabby was reported missing afterward. The FBI started searching for Gabby around that area, and soon her remains were recovered on September 19th. Her stepfather, James Schmidt, has visited the place where she was killed and created a stone cross. There are also several memorials scattered around her hometown in Blue Point. Gabby lived her life online, so I know that most of you guys are genuinely invested in discovering what really happened. The search for Brian at the reserve is still ongoing, though there have been rumors that he might not even be there. I hope he is found alive, so he will be brought to justice. What are your thoughts on this? Why do you think he might have been running? If only Gabby had known. Let's talk in the comment section below.